page 2633, page 2634, page 2635, page 2637, page 2638, page 2639, page 2640, page 2641, page 2642, page 2643, page 2644, page 2645, page 2646, page 2647, page 2648, page 2649, page 2650, page 2651, 2652, 2653, 2654, 2655, 2656, yeah, I think there is something missing in 2656. Leader of the Senate, the corrections were not done.
Correction on the schedule, the number 3 there, B is Arugongu. So this U after the R and N, the last N should be removed, to be edited. Did you see? We made the correction there, but it's not been reflected. Tani, have you seen it? Thank you, sir.
Secretariat, please take note. Page 2657. Yes, leader.
There is another correction that needs to be made there. The FCT should stand alone because it's the federal. It's already done.
Ordinarily, the normally should have started 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, Secretariat, take note, please. Secretariat, take note. Page 2657, 2658. The single senator. Building eligible. Votes and proceedings.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. My name is Biodun Olujimi. I represent Ekiti South. I rise to move that the votes and proceedings of Tuesday, the 8th of February, be approved. I so move.
Distinguished Senator Uche Okunefe Iyo.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, my name is Senator Uche Lilian Okunefe Iyo. I represent Anambra Central. I'm from Anambra State. Mr. President, I rise to second the motion that the votes and proceedings of Wednesday, 9th February 2022 be adopted and approved. I so second.
Thank you. Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion that the votes and proceedings of Tuesday, 8th February 2022 be approved, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. The votes and proceedings of Tuesday, 8th February 2022 is hereby approved. Letter from distinguished Senator Ibrahim Shekalau, CON PEN Sardaunan Kano, Kano Central Senatorial District. Dear Distinguished Senate President, National Assembly Mosque Project invitation to all Muslim senators. Further to our previous correspondences and our last meeting on February 2nd, 2022, all Muslim senators are hereby invited to another meeting on the proposed new National Assembly Mosque on Wednesday, February 9, 2022 at 2:30 p.m. at hearing room number 022 New Senate Building. While we regret this late notification, all Muslim senators are requested to attend as the meeting will address issues on the project that the last one failed to tackle. Thank you, Mr. President. Signed, Ibrahim Shekarau, CONPEN, Sardaunan Kano, Kano Central. Distinguished colleagues, this is an announcement on committee leadership. The distinguished Senator Emmanuel Boacha is the new chairman of Senate Committee on Public Procurement. Distinguished Senator Issa Law, the new deputy minority leader, is the new vice chairman of Senate Committee on Works. Thank you. Petitions. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, the first business of the day is the presentation of a bill standing in the name of distinguished Senator Francis Ezenwa Onyewuchi on the Alban Ikoku Federal University of Education Establishment Bill 2022. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of the Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Alban Ikoku Federal University of Education Establishment Bill 2022, SB 918, first reading.
Alban Ikoku Federal University of Education Establishment Bill 2022, SB 918, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, the second business of the day is the presentation of a bill standing in the name of distinguished Senator Suleiman Sadiq Umar on the Infrastructure Development Bill 2022. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of the Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Infrastructure Development Bill 2022, SB 919, first reading.
Infrastructure Development Bill 2022, SB 919, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, the third business of the day is the presentation of a bill standing in the name of distinguished Senator Emmanuel Yisa Okajev on the Administration of Criminal Justice Appeal and Repeal and Reenactment Bill 2022. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of the Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Administration of Criminal Justice Repeal and Reenactment Bill 2022, SB 920, first reading.
Administration of Criminal Justice Repeal and Reenactment Bill 2022, SB 920, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, the fourth business of the day is the presentation of a bill standing in the name of distinguished Senator Suleiman Abdukari on the Terrorism Prevention and Prohibition Act 2013 Amendment Bill 2022. Mr. President, may we to invite the Clerk of the Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Terrorism Prevention and Prohibition Act 2013 Amendment Bill 2022, SB 921, first reading.
Terrorism Prevention and Prohibition Act 2013 Amendment Bill 2022, SB 921, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, the fifth business of the day is the presentation of a bill in the name of distinguished Senator Ali Sabi Abdullahi on the National Artisanal Petroleum Refining Development Agency Establishment Bill 2022. Mr. President, may we invite the Clerk of the Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, National Artisanal Petroleum Refining Development Agency Established Bill 2022, SB 922, first reading.
National Artisanal Petroleum Refining Development Agency Establishment Bill 2022, SB 922, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate. Leader, use your mic, please.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, the first order of the day is a motion requesting the Senate to consider the request of Mr. President, Commander-in-Chief, for the confirmation of the nomination of the following persons for appointment as commissioners for the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission in accordance with the provision of Section 34 of Electricity Power Sector Reform Act. They are as follows. Number 1, Dr. Yusuf Ali from North Central. Number 2, Engineer Chidi Ike from the Southeast. Number 3, Mr. Nathan Shetty from the Northeast. And number 4, Mr. Dafe Akpene from the South-South. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the purpose of this motion on the order paper is for the request of Mr. President, Commander-in-Chief, to be referred to the appropriate committee for further legislative action. I so move.
Minority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion that the Senate do consider the request of Mr. President CNC on the confirmation of the nomination of the persons mentioned for appointment as commissioners for the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission in accordance with Section 34 of the Electricity Power Sector Reform Act, say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. The request of Mr. President CNC is referred to the Committee on Power for further legislative action to report back within 2 weeks. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, the second order of the day is the second reading of the Pension Reform Act, Cap P4, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria, 2004, Amendment Bill 2022. The distinguished senators will recall that the bill was read the first time in this distinguished chamber on Tuesday, 5th November 2019. Mr. President, may we invite distinguished Senator Aliu Magatakarda Wamako to move the motion for the bill to be read the second time.
Distinguished Senator Aliu Magatakarda Wamako, Sarki Yamma.
Mr. President, my respected colleagues, I want to move the motion that the bill the bill on Pension Reform Act Reform or Amendment Bill 2020, a bill for Act to amend the Pension Reform Act Cap 54 LFN 2004 provide for a definite percentage a retiree can withdraw from his or her savings account for other matters related be taken today, sir. I so move.
You may proceed with lead debate.
My colleagues, so this term may recall that this bill was read for the first time in this House chamber on 9 and 5th of November 2019. So, Mr. President, permit me to lead the debate on this important bill, which seeks to further amend the Pension Reform Act 2014, provide for a definite and reasonable percentage that a retiree can withdraw from his or her retirement savings account and for other matters related to. Mr. President, none of us here can claim ignorance of the long drawn-out anguish of retirees from the civil service, Nigerian prison service, universities, and parcels among other federal agencies in this country. These retirees, rather than enjoy retirement after selflessly serving their fatherland, have continued living in misery and pain, leading to disease and even death, as they cannot easily access their benefits. Mr. President, the existence of a Pension Reform Act 2004, which was not amended as Pension Reform Act 2014, and the Act provides for a departure from the old pension scheme of defined benefits to new contributory pension schemes, CPS. It also provides for a setup of National Pension Commission, PENCOM. The Pension Act, as amended, cannot be said to have achieved its objective of solving the intractable pension crisis. Suffice to say that the issue of pension in Nigeria has more or less turned a monster that has defied all effort by state government to contain it. In view of this, retirees' protracted sufferings and pains, and these retirees who are equally Nigerians, continue to search for a lasting panacea is a duty bound upon us, upon all of us, and other concerned Nigerians. In essence, using our legislative powers and authority to deliver on citizens' expectations of government was even part of the Ethernet contract with Nigerians, as committed in the adopted legislative agenda. Premise on the following, therefore: the relevance of this amendment could not be overemphasized, as it seeks to provide for succor to retirees in the delay and other difficulties they stumble upon in withdrawing their savings from a retiring savings account. Equally, Mr. President and my dear colleagues, it provides for a definite and reasonable percentage a pensioner can withdraw from such an account. The highlights of this amendment are as follows. Section 7, subsection 1 is amended by inserting the words "or retirees, disengages or is disengaged from the employment," as provided under section 16(2)(a) and (b) of this Act, immediately after the words "whichever is later." Section 7(1)(a) is also amended by inserting the words "up to 70%" immediately after the words "lump sum," instead thereof, while section 7(2) and section 2 is amended by inserting the word "c" immediately after the word 16 bracket 2, section 2. And as it stands now, the commissions were the beneficiaries and not the ordinary retirees. The provision of lump sum as the words they use gives them the leverage to determine at will what to withdraw or not to withdraw from their benefits. These Nigerians who have retired from service after several years serving the nation have found it extremely difficult to be honest of their pension savings in this new arrangement. So unless the law is made categorically clear what they can withdraw from their savings, which were proposing 70% in the amendment, they can definitely have some relief as retirees if this is done. Mr. President, this bill, when enacted as an act of National Assembly, requires succor to retirees in the delay and other difficulties that they are encountering in withdrawing their savings from their retirement account. I therefore, Mr. President, Daily Sun of Monday, 20 December 2021, the DG Pencom was proudly announcing that as it started 1st July 2021, they have an accumulated asset of 12.78 trillion naira. But Mr. President, my dear friends, of what significance are these huge sums and assets of money to the owners, the Nigerian pensioners, who are daily dying of hunger, disease, and deprivation? I believe this is cruel and justifiably inhuman. So let the Nigerian pensioners feel the impact of the assets their savings have generated. But the true situation is that only the pension administrators are benefiting while the owners would suffer total neglect. I therefore want to appeal to us together to come to the rescue of the Nigerian pensioners. I also want to appeal to us together to have mercy on the Nigerian pensioners. I also appeal to all of us to together collectively work to save the Nigerian pensioners. Just 2 weeks ago thereabout, the military pensioners have to demonstrate at the Ministry of Defense, despite the leverage, the kind of treatment military pensioners have, they have to go to protest. If the military retirees can protest, I don't know what ordinary civilian retirees need to do to get to their right. This is now an appeal to my colleagues to please give the required support to this bill to pass so that the ordinary Nigerian pensioner can know the benefits or can have a better quality of life after retirement. As also submit, Mr. President. Thank you.
Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, I would like to, yes, I must. I would like to start by really commending distinguished Senator Aliu Magatakandawamako for bringing this matter up. And like a colleague, my senior in this Senate has also said, I am a retiree, but luckily I'm in the Senate. So I know what my co-retirees are experiencing regarding this act. And I also take a personal note of this matter because at a point when this act was coming into force in 2000, it started in 2004. I was the director in charge of the office of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation when this whole innovation started. And of course at that time we could not see how this thing will become transmogrified into what it is today. But on the issue of pensioners, there are basically 2 fundamental issues. The ones that have been mentioned by the sponsor of this bill, Senator Wamako, and the other one that has to do with the states. Right now, the issue that he has brought really is at the center of the situation. Retirees have no other means of survival simply because their savings account is just simply accumulated with the pension commission, which determines what they want to give them as a lump sum. That lump sum will not last 6 months, it's gone. And then the amount of money that they give them monthly is too small for them to survive up, because they have no voice in the amount of resources that comes to them at the monthly money that comes to them to take care of their families. And as inflation eats into that monthly amount, they find that they could not even sustain a certain minimum level of livelihood that they should be entitled to. When I retired as a federal permanent secretary, the monthly payment after maybe a 5 million that they gave us as money for a lump sum, I was entitled to only about 150,000 as a monthly take-home fee. 150,000 cannot take care of, a family that used to enjoy the benefit of life of a permanent secretary, in this country. The only luck that some of my fellow permanent secretaries have was that we had to go back to the Constitution, to point out that we are entitled to a salary for life. That's what is keeping a lot of them alive. If they had just that 158,000 per month, a lot of them would have been dead, by now. But what happens to some of the other civil servants and level directors right down? Some of them are getting 30,000, some of them are getting 20-something thousand. They cannot just simply live by that. So I agree that there has to be a fundamental reform, in that kind of thing, so that, the retirees have a say in the amount of money that they receive as lump sum out of their savings account, and also in the amount of money that they are entitled to monthly, so that they can be able, to feed their families. And this amount, monthly allowance, should be reviewed, so that inflation can be taken care of to ensure that the suffering, of the retirees at the federal level can be addressed. Now, one other area that I think Senator Wamoko did not touch very well, in the area of the states. That's where the bulk of the pensioners live. And their lives have been devastated. Most of the states owe pension amounts of tens of years. Some of them have completely been neglected. Some of them are dead. Is there no way? I know I recognize that this Pension Reform Act operates only at the national level with federal government staff. Is there no way that we can be able to induce in this legislation some means of forcing the states to pay pension arrears, and also make sure that retired staff who start from service of the state are allowed pension allowances that could amount to a living wage? I think something has to be done, and this can be done when we go to both the public presentation of this bill and also at the level of the committee, so that this issue can be looked at, both the reform of the act here and then the reform, institute something in that bill, that will have national application to make sure that our pensioners at the state level are not left out in the cold. Thank you very much, Mr. President. Thank you, Senator Wamoko.
Deputy Chief Whip.
Thank you, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. I'm Aliu Sabi Abdullahi, Niger North. Mr. President, let me align myself with the sponsor of the bill and the Senate leader who has just spoken, and to say that this is a timely intervention. In fact, if you have experience in what has been happening in the pension industry, you see that while government was in a hurry to offload the huge amount of money that will have been spent under the defined benefit scheme, honestly, it was done in a manner that pensioners were left and abandoned to their fate, and abandoned to the greed of managers of this retirement savings account. In the first instance, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, there are transitional periods. Those who actually had some defined benefits and components of this contribution, many of them who have retired, the money meant to be redeemed into their retirement savings account have not even been redeemed. And this group of people, many of them are still suffering. That is the first one. The second one is, like the leader said, those who are already having the the contributory pension, they have been relegated from understanding what happened to their money. The bill or the act provides that investments are going to be carried out by these fund administrators, and at the end of the day, it will add up to what your benefit is going to be in the long run. Where are they doing the investment? What is the accrued interest or benefit to those investments? Most of these beneficiaries or pensioners don't have a clue. It is what the operators tell them they have as their contribution in their account. That's what they take. And overall, they now come again to define what you are going to get and what you are not going to get. And I think this is the misery that pensioners are suffering from. And I think, like the leader said, beyond the issues we are talking about here, by 2024, that will have been 20 years of implementation of this pension reform. I think it is time for us to begin to assess and evaluate the operation over these years and to see the ills or the successes with a view to coming up with another comprehensive reform that is people-friendly, that will help the retirees. Some of them are having sickness. They are sick. They cannot, get even the so-called, health insurance. You know the way it operates. The moment you are not contributing, you are off. You've retired, you don't have any other source. I think we need to look at it and make this system more humane, more people-friendly, so that we can save the lives of our citizens. With this, I urge my colleagues to support that this bill be read the second time.
Senator Adigian.
Thank you, Mr. President. Distinguished colleagues, I am Senator Idi Gyang from Plateau North. And Mr. President, I rise to contribute to this very important bill that is meant to address the plight of retirees and pensioners in this country, and to commend distinguished Senator Wamako, His Excellency, for this thoughtful bill. And as a retiree and pensioner, I want to fully support the recommendations of this bill, and to say that the plight and distress which retirees face in our nation has come to a point where it's as if it is a crime to serve one's nation, investing the better part of one's life, only to retire into hardship. Our savings under the contributory pension scheme is meant to be a saving for the rainy day for pensioners during their working days, their active life. The contradiction and irony, however, is that the unfortunate reality that retirees and pensioners face, while their accumulated savings are feasted upon by corrupt officials, requires that this bill should be given speedy consideration. While supporting the amendment proposed, I also want to take a look at the area where the administrators of pension funds are the ones that draw profits from those funds, while the pensioners, the contributors, are left without any consideration. And this is one area that we would further be seeking amendment to ensure that the benefits and the profits that are derivable from the huge investments pending are presently at over 12.78 trillion accumulated pension funds, that the profit that is drawn from these investments should not just go to the pension administrators, but the benefit should accrue to the contributors. And that's one critical aspect of the amendment that I am strongly supporting, and insisting, of course, that these recommendations of this bill should go and be supported by all of us on passage on this second reading, and I so support, Mr. President, and this.
Senator George Thompson Sekibo, Rivers East.
The spirit is willing, the body is not willing. Mr. Senate President, dear colleagues, I'm Senator George Thompson Sekibo. Mr. President, first I want to commend our colleague, Senator Wamako Aliu, the Magadakada of Sokoto North, who has brought forth this bill, having seen the plight of the pensioners and retirees. Mr. President, there is nothing that kills much more faster than fear. Those of us, Nigerians, who have been in the various sectors of the federal services, by the time they are 58 years old, that fear creeps in. They are not sure of what life is going to be after age 60, the retirement age. And that is why oftentimes you see retirees and pensioners die about 63, 64, 65. Meanwhile, when they were in the service, you see a very healthy person, a very strong person with capacity. But that fear of how life is going to be becomes a major problem. So I think this bill has come very appropriately, especially having enacted the law in 2004, and then a review, maybe in 2014 a reform. I think that there is a need for us now to check whether that law is working or the law is not working. 20 years in the life of a child, and if that child is not getting up from the floor to walk, then there's a problem. We cannot say that law is working very well when the agency or the law put a clause that it can give them a lump sum without a definite figure, without a definite percentage. And then the agency will not determine, we will give you this much. And that is what you go with. Like what our leader said, Mr. President, a man living on 300,000 naira per month, for instance, as basic salary allowances, is now maybe expecting 50,000 from a source, and it is not even regularly paid to him. That is the fate. Most of these people who are sitting before us, our major class here, who are serving meritoriously, are also going to face. We don't have that problem. We are not a servant. Why do people save money when they are working and when they are active? You save for the rainy day. You save for the day you will not be very active. The day you wouldn't be very active is when you have left the public or the civil service. And at that time, all their savings that are there, you don't even have access to it. So I think beyond what he has even proposed in this one, we really need to go deep down and look at it properly. Why can, from a contribution on monthly basis, you have amassed 12.78 trillion in accumulated assets, and then I'm not able to feed myself? I don't know the interest you are making, and you give me what you want to give to me, when you want to give to me, and then you are announcing that you have this much. When there is too much money in the system, corruption crops up. And of course, we are aware in this Senate, either in the 7th Senate or the 6th Senate, I cannot do that properly, when there were issues with the pension issues all over the country, how much was stolen and all that. So I think that I rise to support the one that brings this bill be read a second time, because it is going to help our senior citizens, of which some of us are also going to join those ages. Although we are politicians, we don't have pension, we don't have retirees fund. We can survive, but how can people survive if we don't look at them? And we are here to make good laws for our people. These are our people. So the people we have to protect more are the elderly people, those who have served the country very well. They are the people we need to protect much more than even ourselves. So, Mr. President, it's a very good law, it's a very good proposal. I said that we can take the second reading. Thank you very much, Mr.
Thank you very much for that proposal. Distinguished colleagues, those in favor that this bill be now read a second time, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act amend the Financial Reforms Act CAF 4, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, to provide for definite percentage a retiree can withdraw from his retirement savings account and for other matters related thereto 2022, SB 41, second reading.
A bill for an act to amend the Pension Reform Act CAP P4, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, to provide for a definite percentage a retiree can withdraw from his retirement savings account and for other matters related thereto 2022, second reading taken, and the bill is referred to the Committee on Establishment and Public Service Matters for further legislative action to report by within 4 weeks. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, the third order of the day is the second reading of the Federal University of Transportation, Daura Establishment Bill 2022. Distinguished senators will recall that the bill was read the first time in this distinguished chamber on Wednesday, 6th October 2021. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the single Senator Abdul Fattah Buhari to move the motion for the bill to be read the second time.
The single Senator Abdul Fattah Buhari.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the lead debate on the bill for the establishment of Federal University of Transportation, Daura. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, it is a privilege to rise before you today to lead the debate on a bill for an act to establish the Federal University of Transportation, Daura. This bill seeks to address the need for transport-focused education, training, and research-based institutions to complement the lack of human capacity in the transportation sector. With a deepened focus on rejuvenated railways was read the first time in this adult chamber on Wednesday, 6 October 2021. We are all aware of the federal government resolve to improve and modernize the transportation sector, particularly the rail system. This is obvious and notable in various projects so far completed, including Abuja-Kaduna, Lagos-Ibadan, Warri-Itakwe rail line, and the ongoing Ibadan-Kano, Kano-Kaduna, Port Harcourt-Maiduguri sectors, among others. The land transport sector is very vital to the growth of development of the Nigerian economy. Universities have long played an important role in educating professionals who plan, design, construct, maintain, regulate, and operate our transportation system. The rapid changes in the global economy, however, have challenged our current transportation system and organization. Metropolitan traffic congestion is a worldwide problem made worse by the air pollution. Traffic congestion is a worldwide problem it causes. Freight, transportation, and logistics are being revolutionized by e-commerce and integrated supply chain management, putting new demands on zones in Nigeria have increased security costs for all transportation systems and threaten the economic future of the land transport sector. The dependence on oil as the primary fuel transportation continue to contribute to geographic and political instability in the country. These societal challenges require a new ideas, innovation in transportation, as well as educated workforce of transportation professionals. University research programs have the potential to make major contribution in solving this problem. The Federal University of Transportation, Daura Bill, when enacted and the institution duly established, will provide for the holistic development of transportation sector through education, research, innovation, and training. The university will no doubt lead the African continent in advancing knowledge, improve transportation decision making, and result in better transportation system. The primary role of transportation university should be to strengthen contribution in creating change and innovation in transportation system. As stated previously, organizations involved in transportation, both public and private, are facing challenges and new demand in innovation. The Daura cited university can play an important role in helping this organization innovate, in helping them maneuver the innovation journey. This can be done for a broad set of transportation-related products and services. The establishment of this University of Transportation will also boost and complement the wagon assembly plant sited at Kajola in Ogun State. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, it may interest you to know that this university is the first of its kind in Nigeria and Africa as a whole. Its establishment will transform Nigeria into knowledge hub and land transport in Africa. And the establishment of this university will go a long way to develop human capital in Nigeria, properly safeguarding and sustaining the huge investment of federal government in the transport sector. Suffice to state that the fulfillment of Order 76.3 of the Senate Standing Order 2022 amended, a compendium of the financial application for the establishment of the university is attached. Nevertheless, as part of its corporate social responsibility to our dear nation, China's Civil Engineering Consortium Company has made conservative commitment to shoulder the takeoff pending of the proposed university in the sum of $50 million, and the project is already 50% completed. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, let me conclude by expressing my gratitude for your usual cooperation in supporting proposals that seek to advance growth and development of our beloved country, Nigeria. While thanking you all for attention, I seek your strong support for the passage of this bill to be read the second time. Mr. President, I so move.
Senator Barrow, Jibril.
Thank you, Mr. President. I am Senator Barrow Jibril. I represent Kano North. Mr. President, I stand to support this bill in its entirety and to commend the mover or the sponsor of the bill. Mr. President, the current administration is doing extremely well in trying to put in place a sound and a modern transportation system in this country. You see how the railway sector is being reconstructed, is being put in place to go in tandem with modernity. Rail tracks are...
Distinguished colleagues, please, if we have to converse, let's do that in low tones, please, so that we listen to ourselves in silence. Thank you. Proceed.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, the current administration is doing very well in trying to put in place a sound and up and doing transportation system in this country. A lot of money has been spent in trying to reconstruct our railway system and other sectors of the transportation subsector. Now, if this is done, we need the necessary manpower, the expertise to run and maintain the huge investment that's been made to put in place a sound transportation system in this country. And that's why this institution is necessary, is highly appropriate, so as to create an institution where manpower will be trained, research will be conducted to improve on what is going to be put in place. So it is necessary that we all support this bill so that we help the government, we also give our own support in making sure that we create that avenue of having necessary manpower to run whatever is being done now in trying to make sure that we have a transportation system that will go in tandem with modernity, that will go in tandem with what we see in the developed climes all over the world. I say so, Mr. President.
Is anybody against the bill? Those in favor that this will be now read a second time, say aye. Those against, say nay, the ayes have it. Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act established the Federal University of Transportation, Daura, and other related matters 2022, SB 799, second reading.
A bill for an act to establish the Federal University of Transportation, Daura, and other related matters 2022, second reading taken. And the bill is referred to the Committee on Tertiary Institutions and Debt Fund to report by within 4 weeks. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly
you're welcome. Distinguished Senator Geshan Bassi.
That's a gallo of, we'll be happy to have him. That's a gallo of defective. Thank you, Minority Leader. We are the one outstanding. Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, the fourth order of the day is the second reading of the Companies and Allied Matters Act 2020 Amendment Bill 2022. Distinguished senators will recall that the bill was read the first time in this chamber on Tuesday, 1st February 2022. Mr. President, you will to invite distinguished Senator Ibrahim Yahaya Oloriegbe to move the motion for the bill to be read the second time.
Distinguished Senator Ibrahim Yahaya Oloriegbe, Kwara Central.
Thank you, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. My name is Ibrahim Yahaya Oloriegbe. I represent Kwara Central Senatorial District. And Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, I thank you for the privilege to lead this debate on the general principle on the Company and Allied Matters Act 2020, Amended Bill 2022, which seeks to strengthen the operations of non-governmental organizations in Nigeria and their compliance with the provisions of the Act and for other matters connected therewith. As was stated by the leader, the bill was read for the first time in this House chamber on the 4th day of February 2023. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the Company and Allied Matters Act is one of the most significant pieces of legislation which enhances Nigeria's business environment and promotes the growth of micro, small, and medium-scale enterprises. CAMA is also the law that guides the registration and administration of companies, business entities, and associations. It provides a legal and regulatory framework for how profit-making entities and non-profit should operate in the country. The CAMA Act 2020 was introduced as an executive bill in the National Assembly in December 2019 and passed in record time by the 9th Senate on 10th of March 2020 and the House of Representatives on the 5th day of March 2020. It received presidential assent on 7th day of August 2020, thereby replacing the Companies and Allied Matters Act 1990. While the new law has major benefit for companies by improving the ease of doing business and reducing the burden of compliance for medium and small-scale industries or enterprises, it introduces more stringent regulations for organizations registered as incorporated trustees, which include non-governmental organizations, civil society organizations, community-based and faith-based organizations. The extant law, while laudable and a major improvement from CAMA 1990, contains some provisions that are inimical to the ability of NGOs to operate and deliver on the purpose for which they are set up. It is important to point out that NGOs are essentially the initiative and creation of individuals and citizens seeking to contribute to social development. We owe it as a responsibility to support this initiative, of course, without overlooking the need to assist the operation within the law. Amendment to Section 849, which deals with the merger of the association, is being proposed to give associations with similar objectives the discretion to merge. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I think I've done. It's essential to observe that the extant law, that's CAMA 2020, require NGOs to provide annual returns to Corporate Affairs Commission twice in a year, when companies are only required to do so only once. The law also makes it possible for trustees of NGOs to be removed in unclear circumstances and for interim managers to be appointed without specifying the roles of the interim managers, the extent of their powers, and the duration of their appointment. The current law as it exists could also lead to the arbitrary seizure or disposition of the assets and property of NGOs without providing the opportunity for correcting any ills, which the law should aim to do. The objective of this bill, therefore, are to seek to strengthen the operations and increase the effectiveness of NGOs in Nigeria, introduce measures that address the full range of regulatory issues relating to registration, administration, and merger, provide a consistent regulatory framework that enhances NGO coordination in Nigeria. The highlight of the bill is that the bill proposes amendment to 11 clauses of the Principal Act, and this includes amendment to Section 2, which deals with the establishment of governing board, deletion of Section 8.1, which deals with the related association, amendment to Section 838, which deals with application of income and property, amendment to Section 839, which deals with suspension of trustees, appointment of interim manager, and deletion of Section 842, which deals with account of dissolved incorporated trustees. deletion of Section 843, which deals with account which ceased to be dormant before transfer, as well as deletion of Section 844, which deals with dormant bank account supplementary. An amendment is being proposed for Section 845, which deals with annual statement of affairs. Section 846, which deals with accounting record and statement of account. Section 848, which deals with biannual return. And amendment Section 849, which deals with merger of association, which is amended to give associations with similar objectives the discretion to merge. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, it is important to note that the aforementioned provisions are critical to the objective of this bill. However, permit me to highlight some of the key proposals for amendment. The amendment being proposed to Section 2.2 is to provide for the representation of non-governmental organizations in the membership of Governing Board of the Corporate Affairs Commission, just as the one it's provided for companies. Amendment Section 839 to curb the wide power of CAC to suspend trustees, appoint interim managers for NGOs. And amendment to Section 85 to reduce the burden on NGOs to submit biannual statement of affairs to CAC, as opposed to annually, which is the standard requirement for profit-making entities. And the deletion of Section 81, which provides for involuntary merger of associations and contravenes Section 40 of the 1999 Nigerian Constitution as amended, which guarantee the freedom of association. In addition, Section 4849 already makes provision for voluntary mergers. The proposal to delete Section 842, 840, 844, which border on the status of the bank account of NGOs and infringe on the code of confidentiality between banking institutions and their customers. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the bill, if passed into law, will provide an acceptable and more coordinated legal framework for non-governmental organization regulation, but more significantly, strengthen the civic space in Nigeria, which is required for good governance and survival of our democracy, or strengthening of our democracy. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I wish to state that in compliance with Order 76 sub 3 of the Senate Standing Order as amended, there is no financial application of the government with respect to this bill. I urge you, therefore, my colleagues, to support this bill for second reading and its expeditious passage into law. Thank you. I so submit, Mr. President.
Senator Sadiq Suleiman Umar.
Thank you, Mr. President, my distinguished colleagues. I am Sadiq Suleiman Umar. I represent the good and decent people of Kwara North, and we all are. Mr. President, this bill is very, very significant because of so much misunderstanding that surrounds NGO operations in Nigeria. CAMA needs to be amended to provide for proper regulatory framework that regulates how NGOs operate in Nigeria. There are several NGOs in Nigeria that have significant impact with huge investment in our health sector, the political space, and a lot of other area NGOs are doing beautiful work. However, there are a lot of persons that use NGOs in a very, very not charitable manners. And today in Nigeria, there seems to be a misunderstanding with a single soup, using a single brush for every NGO in Nigeria. Therefore, with this amendment, Mr. President, this will cover those NGOs that are doing excellent job, that wants to operate by international standard, respect the laws of the country, to be protected. These laws will cover them. For those that, have other ulterior motives in creating NGOs, and they use this limitation in our CAMA to take advantage, they cannot be properly regulated and controlled. I therefore urge us all to support this bill to be read for the second time. Thank you, Mr. President, for the opportunity.
Anybody against the bill? Those in favor that this bill be now read the second time, say aye. Those against, say nay. That's it. Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to amend the Companies and Allied Matters Act 2020 to strengthen the operations of non-governmental organizations in Nigeria and their compliance with the provisions of this act and for other matters connected therewith 2022 SB 904 second reading.
a bill for an act to amend the Companies and Allied Matters Act 2020 to strengthen the operations of non-governmental organizations in Nigeria and their compliance with the provisions of this act and for other matters connected therewith, 2022, second reading taken. And the bill is referred to the Joint Committee on Trade and Investment and Diaspora and NGOs Committee, with the Trade and Investment as the lead committee, to report back within 4 weeks. Leader of the Senate. Point of order, Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, I would like to, with your permission, go to Order 95 of our Senate Standing Orders as amended in 2022, and that order has to do with the committees that we have and the responsibilities of those committees. If within that order we go to item 38, that is committee number 38, that is on page 131 of our standing orders, we'll find that the oversight and other legislative matters that on the Nigerian University of Transport are supposed to be handled by our Committee on Land Transport. Now, this bill that we are doing to formally legalize the establishment of Land Transport University was transferred to the Committee on Education and Tech Fund. So I am trying to make a motion that we amend the earlier reference that we have made so that we can take this bill on the University of Transport back to the Committee on Land Transport. So I would like, with your permission, to move that motion, that the reference that you have made. Distinguished colleagues, I'm still standing on that standing order, but with some modifications. What we have been doing before, when we have been considering some of these educational institutions, was to sometimes take them to the Tech Fund and Education, and sometimes to refer them to the committees that are related to them. We have been doing a lot of this with regard to health. But I think it's important, with your permission, to establish a principle. Wherever the educational institutions are involved, in whatever sector, we send it to the committee dealing with education and tech fund, with the committee dealing with the subject matter as a second committee, so that the consideration of that educational institution will be done with the subject matter committee. If this is agreed in principle, I will move that motion that for going forward, that is the direction in which we should go. In this adopted, I move a motion in that regard.
Minority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I second the
I second the motion as amended from the original motion by the leader, that all matters of tertiary education should go to the Ministry of Education, while the specific committee now be added to the ministry for further consideration. I so second.
Thank you very much, distinguished colleagues. Before I put the question, the issue the leader raised is we have already referred the bill for the establishment of the Federal University of Transportation, DORA, to Committee on Tertiary Institutions and TED Fund. And then in our standing order, the supervision or oversight of that institution is vested in the Committee on Land Transport. But what we are dealing with is establishment of the university, not oversighting it. And the principle we are trying to establish henceforth is establishment of any tertiary institution, regardless of what the subject matter is, should be vested in the Committee on Tertiary Institutions and TED Fund, and then the subject matter committee, like in this case, the Committee on Land Transport oversighting that university. The committee takes part in the processing of the bill, but with the tertiary institutions and TED Fund as the lead committee. Is that okay? So that we don't have to be going back and forth. Establishment, NUC comes up with certain conditions, and that is the function of our Committee on Tertiary Institutions. So with this, those in favor of this amendment as proposed by the leader and seconded by the minority leader, say aye. Those against, say nay. So the earlier referral is now going to be to the Committee on Tertiary Institutions and TED Fund, and Committee on Land Transport as the other committee with lead committee tertiary institutions. Thank you. Leader of the Senate. Leader, what's going on? Your mic?
My mic. Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, the fifth order of the day is the second reading of the Federal University of Medicine and Medical Sciences, Egbe, Kogi State Establishment Bill 2022. Distinguished senators will recall that the bill was read the first time in this distinguished chamber on Tuesday, 25th January 2022. Mr. President, may we invite distinguished Senator Smart Ademi, the indefatigable Smart Ademi, to move the motion for the bill to be read the second time.
Very distinguished Senator Smart Ademi, former comrade.
Mr. President, I rise, Mr. President, to present the lead debates on a bill for an act, Mr. President, to establish Federal University of Medical Sciences, Egbe, Kogi State. Mr. President, the proposed bill, the Federal University of Medical Sciences, Egbe, when passed, will provide a platform for the ever-increasing needs for medical research, reduce billions of naira be spent on medical tourism through the United States, Asia, and and Europe. There is urgent need, Mr. President, to develop medical science and encourage our youths to study towards becoming medical doctors and medical scientists. Judging by our ever-increasing population as a nation and the various diseases emerging daily across the globe, In recent times, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, over 5,000 trained medical personnel from our nation have left for greener pasture to Asia, Europe, and America. This has worsened the poor state of medical services in Nigeria. Today, there are hospitals in rural areas across the length and breadth of our nation without adequate doctors and without adequate qualified medical personnel. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I propose that Egbe Hospital, which was established by the Sudan Interior Mission in 1951, about 72 years ago, is quite suitable with its already existing medical facilities of 250 beds and multi-service complex. There are in existence, Mr. President, 6 main wards: surgical, the maternity, isolation ward, and other wards that are vital to healthcare delivery. The college, the hospital has a training college which was established as a training school to provide qualified and registered nurses and trained medical personnel. The school has produced high-quality nurses and midwives since its inception. Mr. President, with the unwavering support of one of the best governors in this country, Governor Yaya Adozabilo, the school was recently.
Distinguished Senator Smart Ademi, you are protected. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. President. With the unwavering support of one of the best governors in the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Governor Yaya Adozabilo, the school was recently granted a full re-accreditation by the Nursing Council of Nigeria and was upgraded to a College of Nursing Science status to award HND certificates. The college is currently enjoying massive support from the original missionary founders for a comprehensive upgrade of its facilities and infrastructures. These include 3 new giant hospitals and hostels for male, including e-laboratory, which has been significantly upgraded, including administrative buildings. There is a dental clinic with a hygienic and a visiting dental surgeon on a monthly basis for the United States to Egbe Hospital. The hospital also offers a mobile health clinic that provides outreach to surrounding poor communities with healthcare needs. Interestingly, Mr. President, there are 3 different centers of education in the hospital campus: the Family Medicine and Residential Program, College of Nursing Sciences, and George Champion Academy. The hospital currently, Mr. President, has 265 staff, including medical, administrative, and maintenance staff, with about 85 various categories of staff accommodation for senior and junior staff. Let me emphasize that, Mr. President, shortly after the independence, one of the greatest nationalists of our time, the late Premier of Northern Region, Sir Ahmadu Bello, the Sadana of Sokoto, gave tremendous support, which explains why this hospital is very much in existing and waxing stronger. There are also new tutorial rooms, study areas, information technology centers, and other needed facilities. These have greatly enhanced the capacity of the school to meet its objectives as an HND level nursing and midwifery certificate for students across the country. The Ekwa Hospital and its nursing training college, Egbe, Kogi State, was established, like I said, in 1951 by the Canada-based Sudan Interior Mission. It is a 65 multi-purpose bed complex on one hand, comprising other facilities provided. Mr. President, this hospital presently occupies approximately 95 hectares with about 68 buildings, including School of Nursing and Midwifery, along with those established by this government and the one inherited by the given by Sadana of Sokoto as Premier of Northern Region. It is situated on a major intersection between Ilorin and Lokoja and has people accessing it from all over Nigeria. To date, the hospital is adjudged, Mr. President, among the best in the country and Sahara Africa. As a nation, Mr. President, we are blessed with highly intelligent and talented people, We must therefore work towards creating and providing an enabling environment, especially in the educational sector, to harness the clearly present human resources. The establishment of this university, Mr. President, as a specialized center of excellence in the field of medicine will bring to fruition this desirable objective and the vision of our founding fathers. Mr. President, respected colleagues, permit me to equally let you know once again, for your kind attention, the fact that Nigeria has only 72,000 nationally registered medical doctors, with only 35,000 practicing medical doctors, serving a population over 200 million people, as the World Bank minimum recommendation ratio of 1 doctor to between 400 and 600 patients, which is we are really far behind. This is completely insufficient and requires our very urgent and collective intervention. The good news, Mr. President, is that under your leadership as President, effort is being made to encourage the establishment of more medical universities as a way of bridging this gap. Mr. President, I hereby submit that this hospital, as earlier stated, that it was established over 72 years ago by missionaries, is one of the hospitals to cater, that was catering and is still catering for the needs of the people from the old northern region of the defunct Kaba province. At that time, Mr. President, Kaba province covers part of Kwara, Kogi, Niger, and Benue State. The hospital currently runs courses in nursing and midwifery. Mr. President, I so submit.
Distinguished Senator Ike Ikwaramadu.
Thank you, Mr. President. Very distinguished colleagues, I rise to support this bill for my fellow comrade.
Did you hear what I called him? I said former comrade, so I know you are not a former comrade. Are you?
Well, I'm still a comrade, Mr. President. And Smart Ademi can testify to that. Yes, he was still in the struggle. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, let me commend Smart Ademi for his public interest bills recently. I've had cause to disagree with him in respect of some of them, but for this one, I think we're on the same page. Mr. President, as our people say, health is wealth. We need to be alive in order to do anything else. So it is important that we establish as many medical facilities as possible. We can never have enough of it. Only to emphasize, Mr. President, that while doing this, we must ensure that our people have access to all the medical facilities we can establish in terms of cost. So the insurance scheme on the health sector appears not to be effective and has to be revisited. Secondly, we must ensure that we spread these medical facilities to every nooks and corners of this country. Some of us that organize health outreach can testify to the fact that each occasion, people will come from different places with all kinds of complaints. And after that intervention, nothing happens until next year another person decides to intervene. So we must have a health facility, a health program policy that's available to everyone, that's also affordable. In which the government must make it compulsory for any person who has any kind of ailment to be able to have access to medical facilities, just as we are doing in the academic sector, universal primary education. There must be a universal health scheme that's affordable and accessible. And of course, you see a lot of, Mr. President, another problem is the fact that when we see most of our facilities, the health facilities, they are just hospitals in name. Actually, there are no equipments, nothing whatsoever. So, and sometimes they don't even have the resources, the human capital to run those hospitals. So, while we're establishing universities for healthcare, we're establishing hospitals and all of that, we must ensure that there are equipments to those hospitals. We must also ensure that it is affordable. We must also ensure that it's accessible. So it is our responsibility to make sure that our people have access to the basic things of life, including healthcare, good roads, water, and food. So I want to congratulate Asmada Ademi for looking at this direction of providing a medical school for his people, and I believe that not only his people will benefit from it, any person around there, and maybe if it's effective and efficient, people can come beyond his estate to benefit from this institution. So I second this bill, and I support that we read the second time.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion that this will be now read the second time, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act established the Federal University of Medicine and Medical Sciences at Kogi State and for matters connected therewith 2022 SB 896, second reading.
A bill for an act to establish the Federal University of Medicine and Medical Sciences at Kogi State and for matters connected there with 2022, second reading taken, and the bill is referred to the Joint Committee on Tertiary Institutions and Debt Fund and held to report back within 4 weeks. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, the sixth order of the day is the second reading of the Federal Medical Center, the Establishment, etc. Bill 2022. The distinguished senators will recall that the bill was read the first time in this chamber on Wednesday, 4th March 2020. Mr. President, you may invite the distinguished Senator Olalekan Ramoni Mustafa to move the motion for the bill to be read the second time.
Distinguished Senator Olalekan Ramano Mustafa.
Thank you, Mr. President. Olalekan Mustafa, Ogun East. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, permit me to lead the debate on the bill for an act to establish the Federal Medical Center at Ogun State and make provisions for its due management and administration. The bill was read for the first time in this hallowed chamber on Wednesday, 4th March 2020. The bill was put together in response to the cries of my constituents, women and children who are in dire need of well-equipped healthcare centers. This move for the establishment of the Federal Medical Center is therefore informed by the need to bridge the existing gap between primary, secondary healthcare and tertiary healthcare delivery in Ogun State in particular and Nigeria as a whole. The gap between primary, secondary and specialist healthcare in Nigeria is widening. There is no seamless transition from one to the other due to a number of factors. The factors include accessibility to medical facilities, affordability of Medicare, as well as inadequate medical personnel at primary and secondary healthcare levels. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, communicable diseases have continued to ravage many Nigerian communities due to the distance between the communities and tertiary healthcare institutions. Patients cannot access specialist hospitals where their ailments can be properly diagnosed and adequate treatment given. This unfortunate situation has also compounded the challenge of maternal and infant mortality. Densely populated urban and rural communities are worst hit. Their poor economic situation makes resort to patronizing private hospitals near impossible. The Nigerian National Health Policy is very clear on the role of the different tiers of government in healthcare delivery. Primary healthcare is to be provided by the local governments, secondary healthcare by state governments, and tertiary healthcare by the federal government. In operationalizing this policy, federal medical centers fill vacuums created by either the non-existence or inadequacy of a federal university hospital in a state. The Federal Medical Center, like its counterparts around the world, is envisioned as a multidisciplinary space for treatment, research, harnessing science, and developing innovative means of tackling the numerous health challenges bedeviling the nation. Additionally, when established, the center will perform the following functions: to equip, maintain, and operate the center so as to provide facilities for diagnosis, preventive curative and rehabilitative service in medical treatment. Number 2, to support and provide enabling environment for medical training of personnel as the board may consider necessary. Number 3, to run an effective and cost-effective medical services to Nigerians. And lastly, to review and update medical findings and research from time to time. Federal Medical Center Ijebu-Ode, Ogun State will provide services in specialized areas like neurosurgery, cardiology, urology, orthopedics, pediatrics, internal medicine, radiotherapy, hair, nose, and throat treatment, gynecology, psychiatry, nuclear medicine, and other fields of medicine that may be required by Nigerians. I therefore urge Mr. President and my fellow distinguished colleagues to take a giant step in the right direction by supporting this bill for the second reading. In line with Order 76.3 of the Senate Standing Orders 2022 as amended, a compendium of the financial implications of the establishment of the Federal Medical Center Ijebu-Ode, Ogun State is hereby attached. Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you, my distinguished colleagues.
Thank you, Mr. President. I am Senator Baro Jibrin. I represent Kaduna North. Mr. President, I stand to support this bill and commend the sponsor for having the foresight to bring forward this bill for legislation. Mr. President, Ijebu-Ode is a historical town in the western part of this country. Very historical, that has a lot of people from different parts of this country settling there. And its strategic importance to this nation makes it appropriate to make sure that we have a Federal Medical Center in that town. Mr. President, we all know the importance of having a sound health facility as proposed by this bill, situated in a very good place, in a strategic area, in a strategic town like Ijebu-Ode. We know that it has a kind of short proximity to Lagos. But the population of that town makes it necessary to make sure that we have a medical center there, Federal Medical Center, to help to provide the necessary health facility or health, give the opportunity, it will give the opportunity, to give an opportunity to the people of Ijebu-Ode to have access to good medical attention as required by the people of the area. Mr. President, I urge my colleagues to support this bill so that we can have a medical center located in the historic town of Ijebu-Ode. I so submit.
Those in favor that this bill be now read a second time, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act establishing a Federal Medical Center Ijebu-Ode and for related matters 2022, SB 379, second reading.
A bill for an act to establish the Federal Medical Center Ijebu-Ode and for related matters 2022, second reading taken, and the bill is referred to the Senate Committee on Tertiary Institutions and Third Fund on Health, with Tertiary Institutions and Third Fund as the lead committee. The report back in 4 weeks. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, the seventh order of the day is the second reading of the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps Act 2003 Amendment Bill 2021. Distinguished senators will recall that the bill was read the first time in this chamber on Wednesday, 2nd June 2021. Mr. President, you may wish to invite distinguished Senator George Sekibo to move the motion for the bill to be read the second time.
Distinguished Senator George Thompson Sekibo, Rivers East.
Mr. President of the Senate, my distinguished colleagues, I am Senator George Thompson Sekibo. I represent the Rivers East Senatorial District. Mr. President, thank you for allowing me to take the lead debate on a bill for an act to amend the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps Act, Cap N146, LFN 2010, to make provisions for the mode of appointment of the Commandant General of the Corps. Mr. President and my colleagues, I wish to thank the President of the Senate for the opportunity to make the lead debate of this bill. Furthermore, I also wish to thank my distinguished colleagues who I'm sure are ready to participate in the second reading of this bill. You will recall that this bill was read the first time on June 2nd, 2021. The bill seeks to amend the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps Act, Cap N146, LFN 2010, hereinafter referred to as the Principal Act, to make provisions for the mode of appointment of the Commander General of the Corps. By virtue of Section 1 of the Immigration and Prison Services Board Act, that establishes the Board of the Immigration and Prison Services, the Board was mandated to be responsible for the administration of the Immigration and Prison Act respectively, as well as serve as the governing board of the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps by virtue of Section 2 of the Nigerian Civil Defense Corps Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps Act. The board under Section 3 of the said Immigration and Prison Board Act have the power to appoint persons to hold or act in all the offices in the immigration services, prison services, as well as the Civil Defense Corps, and also confirm appointment thereof. It can be observed from the foregoing that the legislature intended that there should be uniformity in the appointment, promotion, discipline, and general administration of these three services. Regrettably, the mode of appointment of the heads of these services left out the legislature in the scheme of things, as the National Assembly had no input to make in the appointment of the heads of these three services, which is incongruous with the tenet of the constitutional democracy and the rule of law. To correct this anomaly, the National Assembly in 2019 repealed the Prisons Act and enacted the Nigerian Correctional Services Act. The National Assembly, in continuation of well-established constitutional, statutory, and international best practice under Section 3 of the new Prisons Act, withdrew the powers of the Board of the Immigration and Prison Services to make and confirm appointment of the Controller General of the Nigerian Correctional Services as currently designated, and vested those powers on the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria and the Senate respectively. Henceforth, the board is only to make recommendation for the appointment of the Controller General of the Correctional Services to the President, subject to the confirmation of the Senate. This new position of the law ensures that there are adequate checks and balances in the appointment of the Controller General of the Nigerian Correctional Services, which ensures strict adherence to the rule of law and good governance under a constitutional democracy. Regrettably, while the appointment of the Controller General of the Nigerian Correctional Services is in sync with constitutional, statutory, and international best practice, the appointment of the head of the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps was still left under the purview of the Immigration and Prison Services Board, as there was no commensurate amendment to the Enabling Act of the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps. This is not only obtuse and irregular, as the intent of the legislature is to have uniformity in the management, administration of the said three services. Furthermore, as the appointment of the head of the Civil Defense Corps is not in tandem with well-known best practices under a constitutional democracy, it had capped the ability of the National Assembly to exercise adequate oversight powers in the appointment of the head of the Civil Defense Corps, which is a critical agency required for effective internal security of the country. Mr. President and distinguished colleagues, under a constitutional democracy, it is the President that appoints heads of ministries, departments, and agencies, subject to the confirmation of the Senate. This trend is also enshrined in our Constitution and laws of the Federation accordingly. Time will fail me if I am to mention all the sections of the Constitution and the laws of the Federation with provisions for the President to make appointment subject to the confirmation of such appointment by the Senate. However, suffice it to say that, save in the case of the Nigerian Armed Forces, no any other entity or person is mentioned in any section or provision of the Constitution or laws of the Federation with regard to confirmation of appointment by the President other than the Senate. Other jurisdiction. Even in other jurisdictions with certain similarity with our democratic parties, and more specifically the United States of America, which presidential system of government we practice, it is also their Senate that makes confirmation for presidential appointments. By virtue of Article 2, Section 2, Clause 2 of the United States Constitution, known as the Appointing Clause, the President of the United States of America is empowered to appoint government officials subject to the confirmation of their Senate. Conclusion, Mr. President. This bill, following well-established constitutional, statutory, and international best practice, seeks to ensure that appointment of the head of the Civil Defense Corps is made by the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, subject to the confirmation by the Senate, thereby ensuring uniformity in the mode of appointment for the Civil Defense Corps as well. The bill, if passed, will help to strengthen the oversight powers of the Senate over the appointment of the Commandant General of the Corps, ensure adherence to the rule of law by the President, as well as help to put in check the exercises of the executive branch of government over appointment of head of civil service corps, which have critical internal security implication for the country. Mr. President and my distinguished colleagues, the National Assembly is mandated to make laws for the good governance of the country, and it is my firm belief that this bill is in the right direction. Before I urge my colleagues, Mr. President, there is no financial compendium because there is no financial implication. It is only an administrative bill. I therefore urge you to support this bill for second reading and pass it into law.
Very distinguished Senator Gershom Henry Bassi, Cross River South.
Thank you, Mr. President. Gershom Bassi, Cross River South. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I rise to support this bill as moved by the most distinguished Senator George Thompson Sekibo. I think we treated something like this yesterday along the lines of the same bill which was referred to with regard to the immigration services. We have earlier treated that of the other agency, and I think this is the last of the three to be treated. So I think the arguments that apply to all the other two agencies which we passed in these chambers equally apply to the case of the Civil Defense Corps. So I strongly support this bill and urge my colleagues to support it and pass it.
Thank you. Those in favor that this bill be now read a second time, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act amend the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps Act, CAF N146, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, to make provisions for the mode of appointment of the Commandant General of the Corps and for other matters related therewith. 2022, SB 695, second reading.
A bill for an act to amend the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps Act, CAP N146, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, to make provisions for the mode of appointment of the Commandant General of the Corps and for other matters there with 2022 second reading taken, and the bill is referred to the Committee on Interior for further legislative action to report by within 4 weeks. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, the eighth order of the day is the presentation and consideration of the report of the Committee on Judiciary, Human Rights and Legal Matters on the screening of the following persons for appointment as members of the Federal Judicial Service Commission. And they are as follows. Number 1, Inamoso Ekanem, San, Akwa Ibom, South South. Number 2, Mahmoud Abubakar Magaji, San, Niger State, North Central. The Civil Senators will recall that the request of Mr. President, Commander-in-Chief, was referred to the committee on Wednesday, 19 January 2022. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Distinguished Senator Michael Opeyemi Bamidele, Chairman of the committee, to move the motion for the presentation and consideration of the report.
Have we distributed the copies of the report? Distinguished Senator Michael Opeyemi Bamidele.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I'm Michael Opeyemi Bamidele. I represent Ekiti Central Senatorial District. Mr. President, I move that the Senate do receive and consider the report of the Committee on Judiciary, Human Rights and Legal Matters on the confirmation of the nomination of the following persons for appointment as members of the Federal Judicial Service Commission. 1, Nnamonso Ekanem, Senior Advocate of Nigeria. And 2, Mahmoud Abubakar Mogaji, Senior Advocate of Nigeria. Mr. President, I so move.
Distinguished Senator Abubakar. I thought you raised your hand.
I was seconding the motion moved by the distinguished Senator Bamidele Opeyemi.
Okay. Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion that the Senate do receive and consider the report of the Committee on Judiciary, Human Rights and Legal Matters on the confirmation of the nominations of the persons named as members of the Federal Judicial Service Commission, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Mr. Chairman, you may lay the report, please. Present the report, please.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, report of the Committee on Judiciary, Human Rights and Legal Matters on the confirmation of nominations of Nnamonso Ekanem, SAN, and Mahmoud Abubakar Magaji, SAN, as members of the Federal Judicial Service Commission. The Senate at its plenary sitting on Wednesday, 19th January 2022, considered Mr. President's request for the confirmation of nominations of Nnamonso Ekanem, SAN, and Mahmoud Abubakar Mogaji, SAN, as members of the Federal Judicial Service Commission. These nominations were made pursuant to Section 154, subsections 1 and 3, in conformity with paragraph 12C of the third schedule to the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999, as altered, which enjoins Mr. President to appoint 2 persons, each of whom has been qualified to practice as a legal practitioner in Nigeria for a period of not less than 15 years from a list of no less than 4 persons so qualified, recommended by the Nigerian Bar Association, subject to confirmation of such appointment by the Senate. After deliberations on the executive communication, the Senate, in its wisdom, referred it to the Senate Committee on Judiciary, Human Rights and Legal Matters for further legislative action and to report back with its recommendations. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, because of our time, please, let's meet at page 4, paragraph 5, where we stated our observations and findings. The committee, after the screening exercise, deliberated on the nominees' suitability and integrity for appointment as members of the Federal Judicial Service Commission, and do hereby make the following observations and findings. 1, that the appointment of the nominees satisfied the requirement of paragraph 12E of the 3rd schedule to the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999, as amended, on the appointment of members of the Federal Judicial Service Commission. 2, that the nominees, Nnamonso Ekanem SAN and Mahmoud Abubakar Magaji SAN, are fit and proper persons for appointment as members of the Federal Judicial Service Commission. 3, that there is no petition against the appointment of the nominees as members of the Federal Judicial Service Commission. 4, that there is no adverse report against the nominees as record checks and other forms of investigation by security agencies did not reveal any negative trace against them. 5, that the nominees possess the requisite qualifications, competence, and comportment to discharge the duties and functions of the Commission if confirmed by the Senate. 6, that the committee is satisfied about their qualifications, experience, suitability, competence, and integrity to assume the position of members of the Federal Judicial Service Commission. Our recommendation: the Senate Committee on Judiciary, Human Rights, and Legal Matters, having screened the nominees and being satisfied about their integrity, experience, performance, qualifications, and competence, hereby recommends that the Senate do confirm the nominations of Nnamonso Ekanem SAN and Mahmoud Abubakar Magaji SAN for appointment as members of the Federal Judicial Service Commission. Mr. President, I so move.
Deputy Chief Whip.
Thank you, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. I'm Aliu Sabi Abdullahi, Niger North. Mr. President, let me commend the chairman of our Committee on Judiciary, Human Rights, and Legal Matters for this very painstaking, assignment, which they have concluded and have submitted a report. Mr. President, the 2 nominees for this Federal Judicial Service Commission from the report are fit and proper for this role. And what is important is the fact that the committee has observed there is no petition, there is no adverse security report. And I think these are very 2 critical components in our consideration of any nominee in this Hello Chamber. So with this, Mr. President, I believe we should do the needful by supporting and approving these 2 very, very competent nominees. And I also submit that the work they have in the National Judicial or Federal Judicial Service Commission is one that has to do with their calling And having bagged this prestigious rank of SAN, I believe they will come with a wealth of experience to add value to the Federal Judicial Service Commission. Mr. President, with these few comments, I urge my colleagues to support and approve their nomination as submitted. Thank you.
Leader, if there is no further comments, we'll go into the committee of the whole.
Mr. President, my highly respected and judicial colleague, I rise to move a motion that this chamber resolves in the committee of the whole to consider this report. I so move.
Minority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion that the Senate resolves into committee of the whole to consider the report, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Approval. Will the Senate approve the nomination of Namonso Ekenem, Senior Advocate of Nigeria from Akwa Ibom State, representing South Zone as a member of the Federal Judicial Service Commission? Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Will the Senate approve the nomination of Mahmoud Abubakar Magaji, Senior Advocate of Nigeria from Niger State, representing North Central Zone as a member of the Federal Judicial Service Commission? Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, I rise to move that the chair reports progress. I so move.
Minority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion that the Senate reverse to plenary for the chair to report progress, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. The Senate in the Committee of the Whole considered the report of the Committee on Judiciary, Human Rights and Legal Matters on the screening of Mr. President's nominees for appointment as members of the Federal Judicial Service Commission and approved the nominations of Namonso Ekenem, SAN, Akwa Ibom State, South Zone, Mahmoud Abubakar Magaji, SAN, Niger State, North Central Zone, as members of the Federal Judicial Service Commission. Is this a true reflection of what transpired in the Committee of the Whole? Thank you. Confirmation. Will the Senate confirm the nomination of Namonso Ekenam, SAN from Akwa Ibom State, representing South Zone, as a member of the Federal Judicial Service Commission? Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. The nomination of Namonso Ekenam, SAN from Akwa Ibom State, representing South Zone, is hereby confirmed as a member of the Federal Judicial Service Commission. Will the Senate confirm the nomination of Mahmoud Abubakar Magaji, SAN from Niger State, representing North Central Zone, as a member of the Federal Judicial Service Commission? Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. The nomination of Mahmoud Abubakar Magaji, SAN from Niger State, representing North Central Zone, is hereby confirmed as a member of the Federal Judicial Service Commission. Congratulations to both of them. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, the ninth order of the day is the consideration of the report of the Committee on Aviation and on the Nigerian Safety Investigation Bureau Establishment Bill 2022. Mr. President, if you wish, Mr. President, the senators will recall that the report of the committee was laid on this chamber on Wednesday, 8th December 2021. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the distinguished Senator Smart Ademi chairman of the committee to move a motion for the consideration of the report.
Distinguished Senator Smart Ademi Kwanji West.
Mr. President, once again, on behalf of the masses whom we serve and who will personify the chamber, I rise to move the motion that the Senate do receive and consider the report already submitted on Nigeria Safety Investigation Bureau. I so move, Mr. President.
Distinguished Senator Frank Ebuzim.
Thank you, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. I rise to second the motion heavily moved by the Chairman, Senate Committee on Aviation. I so move.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion that the Senate do consider the report of the Committee on Aviation on the Nigerian Safety Investigation Bureau Establishment Bill 2021, SB 197, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Chairman, present the report, please.
Mr. President, this report was already laid before these hallowed chambers some months back. And this report, Mr. President, as the title indicates, Nigeria Safety Investigation Bureau. What we have done in the course of our oversight functions and reviewing of the act of this agency was to look at how we can make this agency to meet the present-day challenges as it affects not just the aviation industry, but other interwoven portions that are required for proper investigation. More importantly, Mr. President, I want to emphasize that this bill was passed by the lower chamber some weeks back because we had joint sitting on one occasion so that we can accelerate and get to understand the area of challenges confronting this sector of aviation. But what we have done is to equally look at the possibility of expanding the operation of the Accident Investigation Bureau to meet the present-day global trends of agency of this nature. The Accident Investigation Bureau is not just to investigate accidents emanating from the aviation sector, talking about aircraft now. They will now be charged with the responsibility of looking at accidents that occur apart from road transport system. They'll be looking at accidents along the marine sector because the kind of equipment that are available today, they go beyond just investigating the aircraft accidents. And more importantly, Mr. President, as you have equally charged us, this agency will have to expand its operation, thereby having more workforce to be able to perform the assignment that they are being asked to perform. This is very important because, Mr. President, Nigeria cannot be behind in terms of reforms, global reforms that affect this industry. So this bill essentially is to make Nigeria to be able to meet global trend and what is obtainable in other parts of the world so that Nigeria can be within the framework of all the professional bodies associated with this industry on one hand and interwoven functions that are equally overlapping with this industry. Mr. President, very few amendments were made, but the amendments that were made were amendments to meet global challenges and global trends. Mr. President, I so submit.
Leader of the Senate, Committee of the Whole, please.
Mr. President, I rise to to move that this Senate resolves to the Committee of the Whole to consider this report.
Minority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion that the Senate resolves into Committee of the Whole to consider the report, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. We are on page 1, where the bill starts from. Those in favor that clause 1, the objective, clause 2, the application, clause 3, on page 5, clause 4, functions of the Bureau, clause 5, powers of the Bureau, clause 6, clause 7, okay, let me stop at clause 6. Those in favor that those clauses 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 stand part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 7, DSP.
Thank you, Mr. President. Obi Omo Agege, Delta Central Senatorial District. Mr. President, to be very, very consistent, we've only taken a position that these appointments be made by Mr. President, who is at liberty to consult and accept a recommendation from the minister if he so chooses, but that should not be written into the law. So I would move an amendment that clause 7(2) should read, the chairman and members of the board shall be appointed by the president, period. I so move. Thank you. 7(2), Mr. President. Am I right? I think so. Oh, 7F2. Is that correct?
F2.
7F2. That's correct, right?
That's on page 12.
Yes, on page 12. Page 12. 7F2.
No, it's 7.2. It's 7.2. It's just 7.2.
7.2, yes. Sir.
Not F. It's 7.2. The amendment is that we are taking off on the recommendation
of the minister.
No, but that should not be written into the law. That's what we have been doing. He can seek recommendation from him or anyone else. Seconder?
I say second. Somebody's mic, yours.
Oh.
No, it's okay. I need a seconder. Before the Distinguished Senator Oloremi Shade Tinubu.
Thank you, Mr. President. I do second the amendment made by the DSP. I so second, sir.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor that clause 7 as amended stands part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Just like I said I think last week, at the leadership level, we need to engage with our colleagues in the House of Representatives so that we don't go into avoidable conferences over just on the recommendation of the minister, because that takes resources, both in terms of what we have to provide for the committee, the conference committee to work and our time, so that we adopt the same this thing with them, and we'll do that. Those in favor of clause 7, tenure of office, no, clause 8, sorry, clause 8, tenure of office, clause 9, clause 10, clause 11, clause 10. Those in favor of clauses 8, 9, and 10 stand part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 11, DSP.
Same amendment. 11 should not read that there shall mutandis, correct. Thank you, Mr. Yes. Yes. Appointment, yes. The chairman and then the DG. Thank you, sir.
Because it's likely the technical aspect, the technical aspect may have provision where the minister has.
So that is clause 11. So we don't have to put the question. Already mutadis mutandis. Those who are at clause 12 on page 18, appointment of the secretary, appointment of directors in clause 13, clause 14, clause 15, expenditure of the NSIB, clause 16, accounts and audit, clause 17, annual reports, clause 18, power to accept gifts, clause 19, power to borrow, and clause 20, exemption from tax. That those clauses stand part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay, the ayes have it. Clause 21 is on page 26. Those who are at clause 21, clause yes, clause 21.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm wondering if you look at what it says, submission of the budget to the National Assembly through the minister. Is it? That is clause 21, page 28. It's not deleted though. 24. I thought you said 21. No, I said page 24, clause 21.
No, we have it on page 24 now.
We have it. Well, on page 24, I've seen one where they are talking about annual estimates and expenditure, which is at the bottom, page 24. So, that's what I saw. And my worry is that submission of their estimate.
Authentic. No, the point is we asked for the report to be reworked yesterday. That was why it was stood down, because of some anomalies. Now, apparently, not everything has been cured. And I don't know how we can make any serious progress. Do you know how we can make progress? Because we have different versions.
Mr. President, speaking as chairman, actually, we have the column, the first column that gives us the clauses in the old act. So clause 21 is actually on page 24, because the clauses have been renumbered. So when you are talking about clause 21, you should be looking at the third column.
You see, what we are considering is the committee recommendation. And on page 26, the committee recommendation for clause 21 is deleted. That's what is in my own. But what is clause 21 in yours? You see, mine is service in the NSIB to be pensionable. So this is a terrible mix-up and deleted. So how do we deal with this? Huh? Distinguished colleagues, we are making a law here, and we need to be very, very clear on what we are doing. If we cannot get an explicit explanation on this, I think we better be on the side of caution, rather than just rush it, and then we mess up everything here. Yes, it's better we take a little bit of time to get something, a document that is worthwhile and clear. Yes, the Deputy Chief Whip.
Thank you, Mr. President, sitting as chair. My distinguished colleagues, in view of the mix-up we have identified and given the subject matter, safety and investigation, I think we should step this down for the committee to, put this document in order for consideration at another legislative day. I so move, sir.
Right? Senator Keita.
On a sad note, I rise to second that we stand the consideration of this report down to another legislative day. I so second.
The service is your friend, he didn't like to second it, but he had no option. I called him. You can't fault him. But the Secretariat of Aviation Committee should sit up. Honestly, because this is another mess. No, please. So, the distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion that we stand down the consideration of this report till another legislative day to enable the committee carry out further legislative action, say aye. Those against any, the ayes have it. Leader of the Senate, I think we need to give them back their report.
Yes, sir. Mr. President, having taken the decision to step down the consideration of this report, I move that the Senate reconvene at plenary to continue with our deliberations. I so move.
Thank you, Mr. President. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion that the Senate reverse to plenary for the chair to report progress, say aye. Those against any, the ayes have it. Distinguished colleagues, the Senate and the Committee of the Whole considered the report of the Committee on Aviation on the Nigerian Safety Investigation Bureau establishment, etc. Bill 2022 and approved as follows. Clause 1 to 6 as recommended. Clause 7 as amended, Clause 8 to 10 as recommended, Clause 11 as amended, Clause 12 to 20 as recommended. Further consideration of the report deferred to another legislative day. Is that the true reflection of what transpired in the Committee of the Whole? Thank you. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, the 10th order to the 14th order of the day are House bills for concurrence as listed in the order paper. Distinguished senators will recall that these bills were read the first time in this chamber on Thursday, 30th January 2020, Thursday, 19th December 2019, Tuesday, 24th November 2020, Wednesday, 7th July 2021, and Wednesday, 13th October 2021, respectively. Mr. President, for the simple nature of these bills, and also to respect interchamber reciprocity, I will use a single debate on all these bills. With your permission, Mr. President.
You may proceed, Leader.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, the bills that we have listed for concurrence and on which I am taking the lead debate are: 1, the National Center for Ear, Nose and Throat Disease Establishment Bill 2022, which is House Bill number 13. The second one is Animal Disease Control Act Repeal and Reenactment Bill 2021, House Bill number 423. The third is Federal University of Agriculture at Akinkowa, Gombe State Establishment Bill 2022, which is House Bill number 1652. The fourth is Harmonized Retirement Age for Teachers in Nigeria Bill 2022, which is House Bill number 1381. And the fifth is Federal Medical Center, Hong, Adamawa State Establishment Bill 2022, which is House Bill number 1264. The National Center for Ear, Nose and Throat Disease, NESCENT Establishment Bill 2022 was read the first time on Tuesday, 28 January 2020. This bill seeks the establishment of the National Center for Ear, Nose and Throat Disease, Kaduna, for the prevention, diagnosis and treatment of ear, nose and throat disease in Nigeria. The second bill, which is the Animal Disease Control Act Repeal and Reenactment Bill 2022, was read the first time on Tuesday, 2nd November 2020. This bill repeals the Animal Disease Control Act, Cap A17, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, and enacts the Animal Diseases Control Act for the purpose of prevention, detection, control and eradication of infectious and contagious transboundary and zoonotic animal diseases, prevention and antimicrobial resistance through control and regulation of the use of administration of veterinary biologics, veterinary medicinal products, and chemicals in animals, animal products, medicated animal feed sales, and distribution of pet foods, veterinary medical devices, and other veterinary products for the enhancement of animal welfare and food safety. Federal University of Agriculture at Akinkowa, Gombe Establishment Bill 2022 was read the first time on January 7th, July 2021. This bill seeks to establish the Federal University of Agriculture at Akinkowa in Gombe State. The Harmonized Retirement Age for Teachers in Nigeria Bill 2022 was read the first time in this chamber on Tuesday, 18th January 2022. This bill seeks to make the provision for the retirement age for teachers all over Nigeria. The Federal Medical Center, Hong, Adamawa State Establishment Bill 2022 was read the first time on Wednesday, 13th October 2021. This bill seeks to provide for the legal framework to establish the Federal Medical Center, Hong, Adamawa State. Mr. President, my respected colleagues, these bills were passed by both chambers in the 8th National Assembly. They are straightforward and have gone through the necessary legislative processes in the House of Representatives. I therefore urge you all to support the second reading of these bills as to refer them to the Committee of the Whole for close-by-close consideration. I so submit.
Leader, if there is no comment, you can move for the Senate to go into Committee of the Whole to consider the reports.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I move that this Senate resolve into
Leader, this is second reading, right? Okay, any contribution? Yeah, I want to know if there is any contribution. Anyone who has not spoken today? Okay, Deputy Chief Whip.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, Aliu Sabia of the Lion Niger North. I want to first thank the leader for bringing this concurrence, in particular the Animal Disease Control Act, the repeal and reenactment, because this was an act that has been in existence since 1988. And given the contemporary disease challenges we are facing globally, the bill itself cannot really come at a better time. So I commend the movers of this, the sponsors of this bill. And the other one has to do with the teachers, harmonized teachers, age. This is another very, very important area, and I want us to see it as a very, very critical legislative intervention by this Halo Chamber and indeed the National Assembly because of concurrence. With these few comments, Mr. President.
Those in favor that these bills be read the second time, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to establish the National Ear Care Center, Kaduna, for the prevention, diagnosis, and treatment of ear, nose, and throat ENT disease, coordination of research in ear, nose, and throat challenges, training of specialists in ear, nose, and throats, and other supporting fields, and for related matters, 2022 HB 13, second reading. Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to repeal the Animal Disease Control Act, CAF A17 Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, and enact the Animal Disease Control Bill for the purpose of prevention, detection, control, and eradication of infectious and contagious transboundary and zoonotic animal diseases, prevention antimicrobial resistance through the control and regulation of the use of administration of veterinary biologics, veterinary drugs and chemicals in animals, animal products, medicated animal feeds, sales and distribution of pet foods, veterinary medical science devices, other veterinary products, and for the enhancement of animal welfare and food safety, and for related matters 2022 HB 423, second reading. Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to establish the Federal University of Agriculture of Biradinko, Gombe State, to make comprehensive provision for its due management and administration, and for related matters 2022 HB 652, second reading. Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to provide for the retirement age of teachers in Nigeria, and for related matters 2022 HB 1381, second reading. Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to establish a Federal Medical Center, Hong, Adamawa State, and for related matters 2022 HB 1264, second reading.
A bill for an act to establish the National Ear Care Center, Kaduna. I don't think, okay. A bill for an act to establish the National Ear Care Center, Kaduna, for the prevention, diagnosis, and treatment of ear, nose, and throat diseases, coordination of research in ear, nose, and throat challenges, training of specialists in ear, nose, and throat, and other supporting fields, and for related matters 2022, second reading taken. A bill for an act to repeal the Animal Diseases Control Act, Cap A 17, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria, 2004, and enact the Animal Diseases Control Bill for the purpose of prevention, detection, control, and eradication of infectious and contagious transboundary and zoonotic animal diseases, prevention of antimicrobial resistance through the control and regulation of the use and administration of veterinary biologics, veterinary drugs, and chemicals in animals, animal products, medicated animal feeds, sales and distribution of pet foods, veterinary medical devices, other veterinary products, and for the enhancement of animal welfare and food safety, and for related matters 2022, second reading taken. A bill for an act to establish the Federal University of Agriculture at Unkoa, Gombe State, to make comprehensive provisions for its due management and administration, and for related matters 2022, second reading taken. A bill for an act to provide for the retirement age of teachers in Nigeria, and for related matters 2022, second reading taken. And a bill for an act to establish the Federal Medical Center, Hong, Adamawa State, and for related matters 2022, second reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, in accordance with Order 79, subsection 1, I will move a motion for the bills to be referred to the Committee of the Whole. I so move.
Thank you. All the bills are referred to the Committee of the Whole. Second reading. The Committee of the Whole.
Thank you, Mr. President. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, all the bills, the 5 bills we are concurring, are being referred to the Committee of the Whole. And we are now going to the Committee of the Whole. So those in favor that the Senate resolves into Committee of the Whole to consider the report, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Distinguished colleagues, all these bills have been worked upon by our colleagues in the House of Representatives, and we are only required to concur with what they did in the House. So I'll be a little bit fast. Those in favor that clauses 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 stand part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. Sorry, we are starting with the first report. That is the establishment of the National Center for Ear, Nose, and Throat, ENT. So those in favor that clauses 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 stand part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. Clause 6, Clause 7, Clause 8, Clause 9, Clause 10. Those in favor that those clauses stand part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. Clause 11, Clause 12, Clause 13, Clause 14, Clause 15. Those in favor that those clauses stand part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Clause 16, Clause 17, Clause 18, Clause 19, power to accept gifts on page 7, Clause 20, discipline of students. Those in favor that those clauses stand part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Clause 21, removal and discipline of clinical, administrative, and technical staff on page 8 of the report. Clause 22, Clause 23, and Clause 24. Those in favor that those clauses stand part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Those in favor that the interpretation stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Those in favor of the short title on page 11 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Those in favor of the schedule on page 11 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Those in favor of the explanatory memorandum on page 13 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Those in favor of the long title on page 1 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. The second report, Animal Diseases Control Act, Cap A 17. This one has 50 clauses. Clause 1, Clause 2, Clause 3, Clause 4, Clause 5 on page 3. Surveillance of imported animals and animal products or commodities. Those in favor of clauses 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 stand part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Clause 6 is routine surveillance on page 4. Clause 7, Clause 8, Clause 9, and Clause 10. Those in favor of those clauses stand part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Clause 11 is on page 12, animal semen and germplasm control. Those who are at clause 11, clause 12, registration and control of animal farms and hatcheries, clause 13, clause 14, clause 15. Stand part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Clause 16 is on page 16, annual registration and certification of butchers in abattoirs and slaughter slabs. Those who are at clause 16, clause 17, clause 18, clause 19, clause 20 stand part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Those who are at clause 21, clause 22, clause 23, clause 24, and clause 25 stand part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Clause 26 is on page 28. Prevention and control of diseases of bees. Those who are at clause 26, clause 27, clause 28, clause 29, and clause 30 stand part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Clause 31, clause 32, clause 33, clause 34, clause 35, control of hazards and antimicrobial resistance on page 34, stand part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Clause 36 is on page 36. Clause 37, clause 38, clause 39, and clause 40. Powers of the minister. Those in favor that those clauses stand part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Clause 41, the responsibilities of the CVON. On page 39, those in favor that clause 41, clause 42, clause 43, clause 44 regulations, clause 45 stand part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Clause 46, clause 47, Clause 48, those in favor of clauses 46, 47, and 48 stand part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Those in favor of the interpretation on page 47 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Those in favor of the short title on page 58 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Those in favor of the schedules 1, 2, 3 up to 17 stand part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Those in favor of the explanatory memorandum on page 84 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Those in favor of the long title. Let me put this in for the long title. Those in favor of the long title stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Page what? Well, I think there is a problem here. It's looking like it's a universal problem because even under Yobe, there's Abadan. Abadan, there's no local government called Abadan. Abadan is supposed to be in Borno. Now I don't know, let's identify what we can identify here. This should not be a basis for us to leave this in without completing it. So if this is all that, I think we just need to look at what is there. We just correct it. Yes, we just correct it and make progress. Yes, we don't have to bog down. Huh? Yeah. Yeah, please. Yes. Secretariat, please take note. Take note, Schedule 17. 1, is it? Yes, take note of, in Kebi, is it? They may not know. We should tell them what the problems are really. Sorry? You have taken note? Okay. So, we have finished with the second report. The third report is Federal University of Agriculture, Dadunkowa. This again is a very straightforward bill report. Those in favor that clauses 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 stand part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Clause 6, clause 7, clause 8, clause 9, and clause 10. Those in favor that those clauses stand part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Clause 11, clause 12, clause 13, clause 14, and clause 15, the visitor on page 13. Those in favor that those clauses stand part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Clause 16, removal of certain members of the council on page 13. Clause 17, clause 18, clause 19, and clause 20. Those in favor that those clauses stand part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Clause 21, transfer of land to the university on page 18. Clause 22, clause 23, clause 24, appointment of committees, and clause 25, miscellaneous administrative provisions stand part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Those in favor that the interpretation on page 21 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Those in favor that the short title on page 23 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Those in favor that the schedules stand part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Those in favor that the explanatory memorandum on page 36 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Those in favor that the long title on page 1 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Thank you. We go to the next report. Harmonized retirement age for teachers in Nigeria. And there are 5 clauses. Those in favor of clauses 1, 2, and 3 stand part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Those in favor of the interpretation stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Those in favor of the short title, that's clause 5, stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Those in favor of the explanatory memorandum stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Those in favor of the long title stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. And the last, but not the least, is Federal Medical Center, Hong, Adamawa State. Those who are at clause 1, clause 2, clause 3, clause 4, and clause 5, cessation of membership, stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Those in favor of the clause 6, allowance of the board on page 3, clause 7, clause 8, clause 9, and clause 10, appointment of directors and other staff of the medical center, stand part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Those who are at clause 11, clause 12, clause 13, clause 14, and clause 15 on page 7 stand part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Those who are at clause 16, annual estimate and expenditure, clause 17, annual report, clause 18, clause 19, and clause 20 stand part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Those who are at the discipline of students, clause 21, clause 22, clause 23, clause 24, clause 25, and clause 26 stand part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Those in favor of the interpretation on page 12 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Those in favor of the short title on page 13 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Those in favor of the schedule on page 13 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Those in favor of the explanatory memorandum on page 14 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Those in favor of the long title on page 1 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, I rise to move that the Senate resolve revert to plenary for the chair to report progress.
Minority.
Thank you, Mr. President. I second the motion that the chair do report progress.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor that the Senate reverse to plenary for the chair to report progress say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Distinguished colleagues, the Senate in the Committee of the Whole considered the National Center for Ear, Nose and Throat Disease, Nascent Kaduna Establishment Bill 2022 and approved as follows: long title as recommended, clause 1 to 24 as recommended, interpretation as recommended, short title as recommended, schedule as recommended, explanatory memorandum as recommended. Is this a true reflection of what transpired in the Committee of the Whole? Thank you. The Senate, in the Committee of the Whole, also considered the Animal Disease Control Act repealed and enacted in Bill 2022 and approved as follows: long title as recommended, clause 1 to 48 as recommended, interpretation as recommended, short title as recommended, schedules as recommended, explanatory memorandum as recommended. Is this a true reflection of what transpired in the Committee of the Whole? Thank you. The Senate in the Committee of the Whole also considered the Federal University of Agriculture at Unkoa, Gombe State, established in Bill 2022 and approved as follows: long title as recommended, clause 1 to 25 as recommended, interpretation as recommended, short title as recommended, schedules as recommended, explanatory memorandum as recommended. Is this a true reflection of what transpired in the Committee of the Whole? Thank you. The Senate in the Committee of the Whole also considered the harmonized retirement age for teachers in Nigeria Bill 2022 and approved as follows: long title as recommended, clause 1 to 3 as recommended, interpretation as recommended, short title as recommended, explanatory memorandum as recommended. Is this a true reflection of what transpired in the Committee of the Whole? Thank you. The Senate in the Committee of the Whole also considered the Federal Medical Center Hong, Adamawa State, established in Bill 2022 and approved as follows: long title as recommended, clause 1 to 26 as recommended, interpretation as recommended, short title as recommended, schedule as recommended, explanatory memorandum as recommended. Is this a true reflection of what transpired in the Committee of the Whole? Thank you very much. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, I rise to move that these bills be read the third time.
Minority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion that the Senate, these bills be now read the third time, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act established the National Ear Care Center, Kaduna, for the prevention, diagnosis, and treatment of ear, nose, and throat ENT disease, coordination of research in ear, nose, and throat challenges, training of specialists in ear, nose, and throat, and other sporting fields, and for related matters, 2022, third reading. A bill for an act to repeal the Animal Disease Control Act, CAF A17, laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, and enact the Animal Disease Control Bill for the purposes of prevention, detection, control, and eradication of infectious and contagious, transboundary and zoonotic animal diseases, prevention of antimicrobial resistance through the control of regulation of the use and administration of veterinary biologics, veterinary drugs, and chemicals in animals, animal products, medicated animal feeds, sales and distribution of pet foods, veterinary medical devices, other veterinary products, and for the enhancement of animal welfare and food safety, and for related matters, 2022, third reading. A bill for an act established the Federal University of Agriculture at Unkoa, Gombe State, to make comprehensive provision for its due management and administration, and for related matters, 2022, third reading. Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to provide for the retirement age of teachers in Nigeria and for related matters, 2022, third reading. Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to establish a Federal Medical Center, Hong, Adamawa State, and for related matters, 2022, third reading.
A bill for an act to establish the National Ear Care Center, Kaduna, for the prevention, diagnosis, and treatment of ear, nose, and throat, ENT disease, coordination of research in ear, nose, and throat challenges, training of specialists in ear, nose, and throat, and other supporting fields, and for related matters, 2022, third reading taken, and the bill is passed. A bill for an act to repeal the Animal Disease Control Act, CAP A17, laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, and enact the Animal Diseases Control Bill for the purpose of prevention, detection, control, and eradication of infectious and contagious transboundary and zoonotic animal diseases, prevention of antimicrobial resistance through the control and regulation of the use and administration of veterinary biologics, veterinary drugs and chemicals in animals, animal products, medicated animal feeds, sales and distribution of pet foods, veterinary medical devices, other veterinary products, and for the enhancement of animal welfare and food safety, and for related matters 2022, third reading taken, and the bill is also passed. A bill for an act to establish the Federal University of Agriculture at Unkowa, Gombe State, to make comprehensive provisions for its due management and administration, and for related matters 2022, third reading taken, and the bill is also passed. A bill for an act to provide for the retirement age of teachers in Nigeria, and for related matters 2022, third reading taken, and the bill is also passed. And a bill for an act to establish the Federal Medical Center Home, Adamawa State, and for related matters 2022, third reading taken, and the bill is also passed. Thank you very much, distinguished colleagues, and with this we have exhausted everything in our order paper today. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, having concluded today's proceedings on the order paper, I move that the Senate to adjourn until Tuesday, the 15th of February, 2022 at 10 a.m. prompt. I so move.
Minority Leader.
Mr. President, I so second.
There's a big announcement. The Minority Leader has delivered me his letter. Before I put the question, let me read the Minority Leader's letter. And everybody is interested to hear what. Minority Leader. Your Excellency, notice of meeting of the PDP Senate Minority Caucus. Well, he will soon see the light. There will be a meeting of the Minority Caucus PDP tomorrow, Thursday, 10th February 2022, with the National Chairman, Dr. Iyocha Ayu, and the National Working Committee of our great party. Time 7 p.m. Venue Transcorp Hilton. Well, distinguished colleagues are expected to attend this crucial meeting. Signed, Senator Enyi Abaribe. With this, well, distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion that the Senate do adjourn till Tuesday next week, 15th of February 2022 at 10 a.m. to allow our committee or review of the Constitution to work from tomorrow until next week, Monday, on the review of the Constitution. Say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. The Senate is hereby adjourned to Tuesday, the 15th day of February 2022 at 10 a.m. prompt. Thank you.